Okay, hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Hi, honey. Good to see you again to talk
Yeah,
about the attitudes.
yes, good to see you again and very excited to have you again to, yes, indeed, talk about today's attitude, which is patience, right? So just to remind all the listeners, Mindfulness Everything, this is a show that will cover and unpack the 7 attitudes of mindfulness by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And not just unpack, we'll also focus on how we can apply the attitudes to our daily lives and how we can deepen that practice. So very excited today to have Tony on board with us to share with us what this attitude of patience is all about. So, Tony, I'm getting impatient. Tell me, what's your thoughts on patience?
Well, when I think of this attitude, the thing that comes to mind, first of all, is that metaphor of the butterfly
Mm,
and how it goes, how the caterpillar
mm,
eventually becomes the butterfly. And I think that and I think John, I probably got this from John, I'm sure. Um, when we start our mindfulness practice, it's almost a situation like that we go into it in kind of one form. And as we do our practice, we can see how things can change for us if the practice is consistent over time. And of course, the story that we always tell children about this butterfly process is that you can't hurry things. You can't wait. If you are lucky enough to see the butterfly begin to come out of the cocoon, it's not a helpful thing to pull it out and help it, because it's the struggle in getting out of the cocoon that actually gives the butterfly the ability to strengthen its wings and then be able to fly. So that's how I look at the process, at the attitude of mindfulness when we add of patience when we add it to our mindfulness practice. One of the things that participants often get impatient about is the fact that the wandering mind is always around, and it's easy to get caught up in the fact that we've got to stop that wandering mind, otherwise we're not meditating. And in fact, the wandering mind is part of the meditation process.
mm.
So I don't know, have you do you see it this way? Do you
Yeah,
see it another
it's
way?
very common, right? I mean, people come to say the 8 weeks mindfulness-based stress reduction MBSR program, and they are here for a reason, right? To de-stress or to find some calm and some balance. And then after maybe the first or second session, you know what? When am I going to start realizing the benefits? When am I going to start to de-stress? When, right? So it's really a timing thing. And I think there's this thing about how patience is this idea about not rushing through some of these moments in order to get to a better one, because we are here, we have this moment right here, right now. And I mean, I think it's not necessarily the easiest, right? Because we live in a day and age where everything's about getting faster and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm picking up on what you just said there, about trying to skip over a certain moment to get to another one. And last week we talked about judgment.
Mm,
And, is that us judging that one moment is going to be better than another, or is better than another? And so this gives us also an opportunity to see how the attitudes kind of connect with each other.
mm,
So the patience it also includes non-judging, not judging that anything we're experiencing in that moment that we're doing the meditation, or for that matter when we're in life, that judging that this particular experience is better than that one and we should not have this one and we should hurry up and get to this one. So that's a very real thing to try and keep in our minds. Later on in the MBSR, we, about, I don't know, week 3 or 4, we start to look at the things that we find that we like, and then the things that we don't like. And we try and hold on to the things we like and then push away the things that we don't like. But as mindfulness-based stress reduction reminds us, then that means we're missing out on a lot of moments. Because we're bringing this judgment to it that it should be like this or it is like this, even though we haven't given ourselves the time to be patient, to let it, the experience, show us what else is here. What else is here?
Well, I mean, but Tony, I have to be honest with you. I don't do waiting well. I don't like to sit around. Yeah, like I want
I
things to
hear
happen
you.
right.
I hear you. And that's why we often say to participants, at this point, you have the perfect object of focus, and that is impatience. So in order to get to patience eventually, like, you're taking a little step once at a time, then we notice our impatience with not only our meditation practice, but with things in life, waiting for, I don't know, the boss to see that we're really working hard, or waiting for that perfect relationship, or waiting for the pay rise, or waiting for the holiday. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being impatient. And in mindfulness-based stress reduction, it is the opportunity to notice impatience, notice what it feels like in our body, and then choose to, okay, let's just soften around the edges here. And slowly, impatience gives over a little more to patience. It never changes, because there are different things that we get impatient about that we don't want to wait for. But it gets better by the opportunity of, getting to know, what does it feel like to actually be impatient?
Yeah, I hear you. So impatience is the moment, right? So how do we learn to be completely open? And I have to be honest again, it is not the most comfortable experience, right?
No.
Especially when, I mean, when our lives maybe are slow and we sort of, it's okay, it's comfortable to just wait around, but we are living in this day and age where everything's happening so quickly, and then we have to sort of put on the brakes and start to allow things to unfold, and that can be difficult and even stressful at the same time.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on how we can make the most of that transition and easing into that practice?
Well, this is in mindfulness-based stress reduction, the meditation is done in a particular way, meaning that these attitudes are absolutely foundational. So in learning to be with our impatience, we need to have a lot of loving kindness and compassion for ourselves. And so that means if we're noticing impatience arising around things, we don't beat ourselves up. We are accepting of the fact and can take the opportunity to also see what is here, which is that difficulty of waiting. What's it like to wait for something, especially if it's important? How does it affect me in my life? And not to bring that judgment in again and say, like, you're not doing this properly. Because it's hard, especially the way you're putting it into the context of our everyday living today. And also, especially if we're talking about the workplace, well, our bosses want things like yesterday, right? And that's the kind of climate that we're working in. And so we take that into everything in our life, whether it's work or relationships or whatever. And it's a real thing. So we can't just push through it. We need to be gentle, understanding, and we do what we can. The practice will slowly help us to experience a little more patience. And that's why it's important to give ourselves time, not expect ourselves to. See, this is the thing. Mindfulness-based stress reduction is completely the opposite of anything that anybody else wants of us, right? Our boss wants our stuff last week. Mindfulness meditation tells us to allow things to unfold, to evolve, to show you themselves in completeness, to not assume that you know what's going on all the time, but to just stop, pause, and maybe take a second look. So there's no easy answer. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all about the practice, right? And so maybe let's so what can we do to deliberately, intentionally cultivate this quality, this patience as an attitude?
Well, I think that you alluded to it in the beginning. It's setting an intention to be with whatever is your experience in the moment, as much as possible, opening up to it. And whether that's you sitting on the cushion to do the meditation, or whether that's you out in, life. So intentionally setting that intention, okay, this is really hard at the moment. I need to be over here, but I'm still over here. But let's open up to what is happening right now. So, for example, if it was, or say you were having a difficulty with your job, with your boss right in that moment, or with a small child right in that moment, then perhaps our automatic reaction would be to, clam up, try to cover our backside, talk nonstop, promise things, But maybe another way to do it is to just kind of pause. And you don't have to, the person in front of you does not need to know that you're doing this, but intentionally, okay, let's just pause. Let me see what I'm feeling here. Let me see what I'm thinking. What are the sensations in my body? And that can all take like a few seconds. But that pause is enough maybe to open up a bigger window to the perspective of what's happening. And I think that is the practice that we take into the mindfulness. I don't know, is that what you find with your participants, with your own practice?
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science, right? It's about that consistency, and as simple as a word called pause, right? And are there pockets of time to pause? Absolutely, each moment is an opportunity to pause, right? And I think sometimes we have this misconception, oh, I need a lot of time, I need somewhere to quiet, conducive, then only I can practice. But actually every moment, whether it's a noisy place, whether you're even rushing, and even in the midst of being impatient, you have an opportunity to pause, right? And I think in that pause, you have an opportunity to practice patience and allowing the butterfly to emerge in its own time.
Yeah. And I think the other word to bring to it is curiosity. To bring a curiosity to what is actually here right now. Have I seen this before? Do I think I know it? And I mean, all of that doesn't even need to be going on in your head, but to actually stop, as you say, pause and go, okay, what actually is happening here? And I don't know if enjoying is the right word, but actually being interested in, okay, what's this leading to? What am I feeling? What's going on between me and this person? And just kind of enjoy the movie. And it's connected to what you were saying about enjoying them, not necessarily enjoying, but being with the moment. Being with the moment, and not wanting to rush to the next moment and missing out on maybe what this moment's got to offer.
And so not rushing. I hear you. Well, thanks a lot, Tony. I mean, it's like a simple reminder to pause and take that time, right? And and that's something that's accessible to everyone who is intentional on this as a practice. So just want to encourage everyone that this is something that you can easily take on with consistency and intention. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so thank you very much, Tony, for joining us today to talk about patience as one of the 7 attitudes of mindfulness by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So not just unpacking it, but applying it to our daily lives. So my name is Han Ee, and this is Mindfulness Everything. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.